because we will be heard.
The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod, and as you can see, I'm already joined by one of our guests today. Leah Hirchfeld is with us, and we're going to be joined in just a minute by Karen Nohelty. And I sort of promised, I teased this to you guys last week. First, we thought it was going to be on Friday, and then it moved to today. So excited that they could be flexible. These are two amazing people from the research team at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. And I just have so much respect for them, and they join us at least once a month to talk with us about research. And what I love is that they're constantly looking for how can they be helping us to enrich our lives today with the information that they learn from research. And I don't remember whether it was you, Leah, or whether it was Karen. One of you had an idea and came to me and said, is this something you're interested in? I just about plotzed. I was like, yes, this is what we need more than anything else right now. Was it you? Was it your idea?
I think I spearheaded it, but it was the research team in general. I think it was, we send out those monthly newsletters. And so also to internally for the audience, to the company. And then also on top of that, we were like, we should probably do something to the external community at large, but it was the whole R&D, so I can't take any credit. It's Dennis and Karen and CJ and everyone.
Okay, so tell our audience what the topic was. I've already teased it to them, but tell them what you guys proposed. And there's Karen. There's Karen. Welcome, Karen.
Hi there.
So thrilled to have you. I was just asking Leah to tell what the topic was that you guys had proposed to talk about that made me so excited.
And I think Shannon, I think you brought it up, but so what the topic that has come up, I think from a few viewers, at least questions, has been about remote learning, also known as distance learning, also known as online learning. When I was researching information, I had to look up all those different kinds of terms.
Also known as the biggest headache for every parent right now, and the biggest fear factor for every parent of a special needs child, you know, this day, this week, this month, this summer. The thing that we're all sweating right now. Yeah. So go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're going to talk about that quickly before we jump into that. I'll quickly introduce myself, and I can introduce Karen, or she can introduce herself too. But Karen and I, like Shannon said, are both part of our research team. Karen is the head of our research department, so she's a big deal. And I'm a research coordinator. And so basically what that means is that we get to spend our days, very luckily, reading research articles, exploring potential research project ideas, and then running experiments with our participants to answer questions that will address best clinical practices for our families and our patients. And the larger autism community. So it's very exciting, and I won't speak for Karen, but I think we both, I guess I will speak for Karen, both feel very lucky to be on the research team. And so what I'll jump into is the current research on distance learning. And then luckily we get Karen here who can provide more clinical information and kind of best practices to support yourself, your child, your teachers, as we all go very much struggle through internet learning. So on that note, I'll jump into the research. And I was very excited about this, in part because I know Australia's done a lot of distance learning. So I was expecting a lot of information on distance learning from Australia, but actually found out that in the United States, we have had public online charter schools since the 2000s, like since like 1999, 2000. So this has been going on for 2 decades, which is to me just mind blowing because I remember technology back in the 1999, 2000s, and it was not something I would want to learn on. But so this has been going on for a while. So this is not necessarily new to the larger community, though it might be new to our parents and our kiddos. So unfortunately, though, there's not a ton of research out on special education and distance learning. So I'll launch into distance learning generally, and then I'll talk about what special education research there is. And then, like I said, Karen will jump into the clinical takeaways. And
Sounds
so,
good.
thanks. And so there was a 2004 study. Again, this is 2004. So I just like keep wrapping my head around these dates that I was finding. Was a study that evaluated online 3rd through 12th grade education programs. And that was, the programs were completed from 1999 to 2004. And this is not special education. This is typical developing education. But they found that distance education had the same effect on measures of student academic achievement when compared to traditional instruction. So what that means is that they took students whose scores from state and national tests via the online education program, and then also took comparable students who had traditional education services and also looked at state and national test scores, and there was no difference. So basically the same effect, traditional distance education, you're getting the same test scores on national and state tests. Again, this is not special education. This is, you know, our mainstream education, or but if you extrapolate out there is evidence here that distance learning is effective and can get us the same results for our kids that we're hoping for. But moving on now to special education, which is the more pertinent information there. So like I said, online education for special education has been happening since the 2000s, which again, to me is just mind blowing. And I only found one study, and I'll talk about that study in a little bit. But what I did find, which was really interesting, was a survey results from special education directors. And so they talked to different states' special education directors and assessed how often or how many states were providing online education options to special education children. And so in 2009, only 3 states had a remote learning option for students with autism. By 2012, that number was 20. I don't know what that number is now, but 8 years ago, that was 20 different states had an online option for kids with autism. I'm hoping that number is higher. And I want to point out those numbers in part because, like I said, there's not much research here. But if you're getting 3 states doing this in 2009 and 20 states doing that in 2012, the reason is probably because someone wants it. School systems find this beneficial, or parents and kids are finding this beneficial. So hopefully that kind of gives a little confidence in those numbers. And like I said, by 2020, I don't know what those numbers are, but 8 years ago, almost half of the states were offering online classes and educational options for individuals with autism. Very cool. And then, like I said, I found one study that did look at teaching special education children through an online service. And that paper is from this year, 2020. The special education kiddos were not kids with autism. They were kids with hearing impairment, but still special education. So I'm going to throw it at y'all. And this was a really cool study. It was teaching special education students about atomic structure. So they ended up teaching learners, about atoms, and it was cool because of the virtual environment, they could actually interact with the atoms. They could build an atom from different periodic table elements. They could build isotopes and molecules all within that virtual environment. And at the end of the study, they did a pre-test and a post-test on students' creative and flexible thinking. And they found gains there where students really did have improvement in their flexible thinking and their creative thinking. Again, these aren't students with autism, these are students with hearing impairment. But like I said, there is some information out here that is saying that this is stressful for sure, but has good options available. And when I talk about, this is stressful, I'll launch into those negatives that we did find a little bit. So in that 2012 report, there were some disappointing perspectives. 6 of the states were concerned about the quality of the education they were providing online, and that monitoring that quality was difficult. And even one state said that almost none of their students with disabilities were receiving all of the necessary supports specified in their IEPs. That is wildly disappointing, but this is 2012, so hopefully 8 years have gone by. Hopefully there's some achievements, and that's also where we have Karen luckily joining us so that she can kind of bring into, well, what can we do also here clinically to make sure that all those IEP supports are in place, even though we're in a virtual environment. And so again, there are these concerns, and while distance learning can be beneficial to students with ASD, there definitely needs to be more emotional and social supports, along with some kind of way to have a break in between, because this is, you can only imagine, a very difficult situation. And so the big research question that still really needs to be answered is, in my opinion at least, is what accommodations can be made to the online learning environment to enrich those learning experiences. I don't have research on it. I don't think there is research on it, though. If anyone knows, please send it our way. But again, that's why we have the head of research here, Karen, to kind of talk about, strategies to make distance learning successful, and then also to answer any questions or any concerns that your viewers might have.
Okay. Karen, I hope you got something in your bag of tricks for us, because I gotta say, well, I love the information. I'm not left feeling all warm and fuzzy that like we've got this figured out.
Yes. So as parents, there's a lot that you can do. I know it's stressful, it's time consuming. There's nothing that we can really do to help those factors, but we can help your child be more successful with the online learning environment.
Okay.
One of the biggest things you can do is break the work into smaller chunks. In order to help your child be more successful with it. And that's going to be different for every kid. So you're going to have to know your kid a little bit in order to know how to break these things down. But I would err on the side of breaking things down into smaller chunks than you think you may need. And that may be doing one worksheet and then going and having your kid take a break and then come back and doing a second worksheet. It may be doing 2 problems and then taking a break and then coming back and doing 2 more problems. It may be watching 5 minutes of a video clip that the teacher has sent and then taking a break and then coming back. So I think if you could break them into smaller chunks and be more successful, that's going to be much better than pushing through 2 hours with your kid and getting half of that work done, So.
Yeah. I got to be honest, I feel so as I'm sitting here, my head is churning and I'm going, the tough part is a lot of this is going to fall to the parent. Like I heard you say, the parent is going to have to chunk this down. And I think we were all sort of hoping that the teachers were going to have this piece together. And I think in some places that's true.
Yes.
But I keep thinking about for the parent that's, first of all, for the parent that's motivated, who says, I don't want my child to fall behind and I want them to get further. That parent's going to have to take a couple of big steps up and maybe even potentially is going to, elevate themselves to the point where they are going to function in the role of what in the classroom would have been the instructional aid. Now, for the parent that maybe is super motivated and wants to do this, but has a job, a job in which they have to work, for that parent, I'm clutching my chest, and going, what do you do? Because you got to keep a roof over the head, but your child who's entitled to this education, I know we're all waiting to see whether they're going to approve aides going to the homes.
Yes.
And I gotta say, if you're the parent with a job, I would be fighting, tooth and nail with your school district. All these school districts were talking about doing a hybrid method where they were willing to risk having the kids come to school twice a week. So I don't understand why they're not willing to risk having an aide come to your house every day. You're gonna want to create a pod with that person and be super safe, but I think there's room to argue that. But I'm not hearing people getting that. I interrupted you. What else you got in your bag of tricks, Karen?
Well, to go off of what you were saying, and this is not research based at all, but I've heard some parents talking about doing pods with other families. So if you know of another family or two who is also working on distance learning, maybe you can have the kids all go to one house, have that parent work with all of the kids potentially, and then maybe the parents take turns. So I've heard that suggestion. I mean, on that same note about scheduling, if the parent's working, unless there are specific Zoom calls with the teacher, who's to say it has to be done Monday through Friday? You know?
That's true. That's true. You could say to your teacher, I need, like, so there's those times when the child is there in class with you, but all the classwork that you're counting on being done afterwards, I need to be able to have it turned in on Monday, and we'll make the classroom Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
I would encourage people, that's a good idea. I would encourage people to get that written into their IEP, that homework can be handed in,
Yes.
to accommodate that, so that your child is never marked late. That's a very good idea. Okay, what else? You're like Santa Claus right now, yeah?
If I can jump in quickly, there's also one of the things that Australia has seen work well too with the distance learning is exactly what you're saying, is that you don't have to be, your kid doesn't have to meet the group deadlines that you have to set in a class setting now. You can have that flexibility and say, we need 2 weeks to do this, and that's okay, because you have those one-on-one meetings, and you don't necessarily need to be at that same pace with all those kids that you're not in the physical room with anymore. So you can have that conversation with your teachers and say, we're going to do this Friday through Monday, and we'll have this done these dates versus the dates that maybe in a traditional classroom you would want to have set.
Okay. All right. Okay, Santa Claus, what else do you have in your bag?
Talking also a little bit more about the amount of time to spend on schooling at home. I've supported a number of children doing homeschooling at home. And, not that I'm an expert in homeschooling, I was supporting their ABA program around their homeschooling program. And none of the kids I've ever worked with spent 6 hours a day in homeschooling. So I think that's an important expectation to set, is that your child probably will not have 6 hours of schoolwork a day. And I would not seek out 6 hours of schoolwork a day, number one. So if you are getting that, then maybe work with the teacher. Maybe it's a little too much. And if you're not getting that, that's okay. Your child wasn't working on academics the entire time they were in the school day. So that's something to also think about and be comfortable and okay if they're not spending 6 hours a day on academics.
Okay. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not getting the same and equal and even. But if you think about it, when you're being taught something one-on-one versus when you're being taught something to a room with 30 people, then only your questions are being answered, and you might be able to move through the material quicker.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's that possibility. I mean, we see that there's a very world-renowned school that there's a version of it that shares the same office complex as Card Corporate, and they only work one-on-one with kids, and they're world-renowned, top-notch, very expensive school. And those kids, and some of them are autism, some of them are not, some of them are other special needs, and they work one-on-one, sometimes distance, sometimes in person, and they fly through their material because it's that one-on-one attention. Yeah. Okay. So what else?
Yeah, and on that note too, I want to highlight that there's so much more to school than academics. School teaches socialization, which can be hard, planning, problem solving, organization, following directions, emotional self-regulation. So even doing things like chores, even doing things like helping make dinner, reading a recipe, playing a board game, those things all target some of those skills, some to greater extents than others, gardening, reading, so incorporating those sorts of things in the day can be really helpful. And to think about, okay, what can my child do on their own while I'm working? If my child loves to read, okay, you do the reading by yourself while I'm working, and they're engaged in something productive. Or maybe, the two kids in the home can play games together, and you set some time for them to play games together. And that's going to vary depending on the kids, but don't ignore those kind of activities that are also really crucial to our kids' success.
Which goes to, somebody just asked the question, how to make distance learning more interesting. Yeah. And those things, exactly, thinking outside the box, we've covered before on the show, and we can go back to it as well, that there are so many resources online. You can stop and and do a virtual walkthrough of almost any museum in the world, right? And a lot of times they're putting curriculum with that through the museum,
Yes.
or you know, I mean, there are even amusement parks that have walkthroughs. You know, we're big fans of Universal Studios here in our house, because that's my husband's employer. And there are things that you can do where you can take a virtual ride on most of the rides. They exist on YouTube. And then you could do a physics discussion about how are they making that happen. You know what I mean? It requires being creative, but sometimes half the creativity has been done for you.
Yes.
So there's that. Somebody else says, one thing I like about distance learning in the spring was that I could see my son was struggling with certain things and I could make adjustments for him. Now I know to ask for those supports and tweaks in his IEP.
And that was one of the points I was going to say is, you know, I've got some more tips for you guys, but parents need to ask. They need to ask, like, these modifications are in my child's IEP. How are we making them happen? And use the we. It's not how am I going to make it happen? It's how are we, because the school team should be there to support you and help figure it out. But they may not, they may be a little bit overwhelmed. So they may need you as the parent to seek out and ask that question.
But I want to point out, and we've been saying this on a regular basis, Bonnie pointed this out to us, that your school does have a legal obligation now that they're asking for you to do some of the pickup at home with distance learning. They have a legal obligation to teach you how to do the things they're asking you to do. They can't just hand you a stack of worksheets and say, good luck with that. They have to teach you how to do it, but you must ask them. You've got to say, if this, so here's this support that's in the IEP that maybe is already there, that you're asking that it be there, and you have to say to them, so how am I facilitating that? Who's training me and how to do that? And they legally have to give you that training.
Well, that's great.
Karen? Yeah,
Sure.
legally that's there. They must do it, but you should document it, you asking. And I don't know that I'm going to say this with love, but I don't know that they really know how to teach you how to do it, but they're going to have to figure it out. That's on their end. That's not on your end.
Sure.
And I will say this, that a lot of parents have said that when they did step up to the plate in the spring and work with their kiddos, they saw their kiddos make more progress.
Yes.
And they saw, like this parent, oh, that's what he's struggling with. I need to ask for that to be put in the IEP. And that is, information is knowledge, right? But it does mean that at some point we have to square that with the school and get them to carry on the work that you guys have been doing. Okay, so what else have you got, Karen? Are you at the end of what you've got?
Sure, I've got a little bit more. Some of these strategies, I'm sure your listeners, viewers have heard already, but use a schedule. Use a schedule, write things out, use pictures if needed to set really clear expectations, not only for your child, but for yourself as well. So you know what's going to happen. Include your child in the process as much as possible, give choices, make it really clear. First, we're doing this worksheet, then we're playing the Wii for a little bit. First, we're doing, you know, this Zoom call with your teacher, and then we get to go for a walk, whatever that may look like for your child. And I think to your point too about, you know, doing this work with your child at home, you're going to get to know them really well, and you're going to get to know what they can do, what they can't do. And I would encourage the parents to think about, okay, make a list. What can my child do of the school activities on their own? And what do they need me for? And the things that they can do on their own, you're still going to have to set the expectations, set the schedule, set a reinforcer once they complete it. But if you don't have to be there with them for those activities, that frees you up a little bit.
Okay, we got a bunch of different questions that have come in, and somebody wants to know, would what you're talking about work for people in college, university as well?
I couldn't see why not. I think you would definitely have to take into more consideration the college student themselves and what they want to do, and setting them up to be a little bit more independent. So definitely all of these things work with those components in mind.
Yeah, if you think about it, you guys, I mean, this applies to all of us in our lives, right? You know, I notice that, you know, I love doing these Zoom meetings, right? But it is a different kind of taxing than face-to-face meetings. And I've had to build into my schedule, like if I have a day today, I pretty much have 5 hours of back-to-back Zoom, right? But anytime I got 10 minutes, I have to go walk and see the world and take that break. And at the end, if I have 8 hours of Zoom meetings, I am a different level of exhausted. I'm mentally exhausted, but I'm physically, like, because I've been sitting, right? So I have to get up and move around. And I think we all have to be mindful of these things and take breaks and make things reinforcing and change it up a little bit. That's just, life. We all need that. We have somebody who's writing in from India. And they are saying that they have a 3-year-old child and they are using the term MR. That is not a term that we use here in the United States anymore. We say developmentally disabled, but they are asking for a recommendation. Her IQ is 56. Now at 3, this child does not have to do distance learning, which is the topic we're talking about. But I think that we could all agree that a 3-year-old with a developmental delay is somebody who could benefit from some really intensive ABA.
Yes.
That is not necessarily funded unless she also has an autism diagnosis, and in India that may not be funded in any case. But I'd love to hear what you guys say, but I would love to encourage this person to maybe look at IBT, the Institute for Behavioral Training, and get trained themselves in some things that they can do that will help their child to learn and grow. You guys, anything you want to add?
Yes, I would just definitely echo ABA would be great for that child. And as much as the parent can provide themselves, the better if no other services are available. There are also, in addition to IBT, definitely look at different books. Potentially Catherine Maurice's, oh my goodness, I just had the title and it just flew out of my head. Let Me Hear Your Voice, I believe. That's a parent talking about early on in ABA, their struggles in getting ABA for their child. But I think that gives a good guidance as to how to, maybe if you've got to do this program on your own, some supports there. And there are definitely some other resources that I can look into and maybe provide.
There you go. I also know that in India, there is a large community of OTs, and there is some OT therapy that is pretty widely available in India. And I would certainly participate in that, get yourself some support there. But I really want to encourage, as much as I love and respect the OT community in India, I still firmly believe that your child will do more and do better if you're doing ABA in conjunction with OT. And I know that that's less available, but there's more and more available online. You'll find some of that at ibehavioraltraining.com. There's also skills. Once you know what it is you're doing, you'll want to look at skillsforautism.com for a curriculum. We have lots and lots of parents in India who use skills and IBT together to help their children.
And just a couple little notes. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
A couple little notes there just to help the parent now. Talking to your child a lot helps more than you think. Just modeling lots of language and requiring your child to use language with you, to use the language that they have. That's something that you can do now to start with, and just play with your child as well.
There you go. We only have 30 seconds left, ladies. Any last thoughts?
I have one quick one, and this just popped in my head, but also I would recommend, don't be afraid to ask for help from your extended family if you have it. If you trust your extended family, if you have a grandma who misses their grandson or granddaughter, ask them to play hangman with your child, or tic-tac-toe, or set out a clue game and your child can move it around. I've done that. Or just have the child FaceTime and tell them what they see. All of that, like Karen said, is great input. It's lovely for the other person potentially who really is missing that input as well. So don't be afraid to ask for help from your extended family. It takes a village.
Absolutely. And be doing that now before school starts so that they're getting used to interacting with people online. Ladies, thank you so much. I appreciate you more than you know. We'll keep checking in. I think a year from now, the research on distance learning for the special needs community is going to be robust.
Yes, I agree.
Wish we had the benefit of all that knowledge now, but we will, I guess we'll be the guinea pigs.
Yep, pretty much.
So that's what we'll do. All right, ladies, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Take care.
Bye.
We're staying because our next guest, who's joining us right now via Zoom, is somebody that it's such a privilege to call her a friend. Oh my goodness. Somebody that I admire hugely, Leah Ackerman, who is the founder of TACA. And she is there. Traven, if you want to tell her to start her tell her to start her camera. I'm just looking at a question that somebody just wrote in. There's Ms. Ackerman.
Sorry, I was multitasking.
No, you're so good. You're so good and you look great. And it's so good to see you. It's just like, it brings a tear to my eye. I haven't seen you in the longest time.
No, that's
But you look good.
Thank you. You look good too. How are you being?
I'm keeping on. That's what it's all about.
Right.
So as I was saying, I was just saying how privileged I feel to call you friend, and how you're somebody that I love and respect and admire. And you're the founder of an amazing organization, TACA, which stands for the Autism Community in Action. You guys do some pretty amazing things, and that's kind of what you're here to talk with us about.
Yeah.
So let's open this conversation, Ms. Ackerman. What's going on over at TACA?
Oh, we're just, feet up, nothing happening.
I can't like that. That's a level of sarcasm I can't even get my hands wrapped around, right?
Oh, I always feel like when I come on with you, we're just hanging out and talking and laughing and crying over stuff. I mean, in the 20 years doing this, I say each year, it's just such a crazy time. This is the craziest, busiest I've ever been.
Right.
And everything you can count on has gone out the window, and every day is a new day, and you have to make multiple decisions multiple times. And it's just frustrating as heck, but we're not here to talk about that.
No,
I mean, it's the families going through everything.
I don't know why, but sometimes your audio is going lower, and sometimes
Okay.
but it doesn't seem to be attached to that.
Oh,
I don't
no.
know. I don't know. Well, but I can hear you now. So, and we could hear you all along. It dips. So I don't know. And I don't want to miss a word because you always say good things. But yeah, it's a crazy, crazy time. And I know, I certainly feel like the families need more than ever before. And since that's what you serve, I'm sure that you have been juggling chainsaws since this started to make sure you can help people.
And again, if I ever have a bad day, I know families have it 20 times harder. And that's what I try to stay focused on. And it's so strange that it's the ADA 30th anniversary.
Right.
And thinking of that this week and all of the things that our parents are tackling and facing perhaps another school year that's distance learning. And I mean, we're hearing reports back, Shannon, it's just breaking our heart. They're aggression, OCD, self-interest behaviors, wandering, and really looking at, for regular, typical kids, typical ed kids, regular ed as I like to call it, they lost a school year, and that's really noticeable. For our kids, there are some families reporting they're losing up to 3 years of skills in this period of time. So we're working on tools, working on how we can support we've pivoted completely over a weekend virtually. So all of our meetings are available. Everything is available. COVID tools, tips on how to get your kid to wear a mask, tips on how to get them to wash their hands regularly, all the things that we've been tasked with, we're building tools around it. So homeschooling, all of that's been updated. We have 40 articles that have been updated on our website since we shut down during COVID. So it's a big focus on how do we support families today with the challenges and the hurdles they're facing. So I'm blown away. They're my heroes. Jeff's in college, so he's pretty easy breezy. I have him make dinner, once or twice a week. And he takes out the trash. I mean, he's a joy, but he misses his friends. He misses being in the dorm room 5 days a week.
What year of college is he about to be in, Lisa?
A senior, which completely bum city, but it's everyone's got their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, my
So-
kid's about to be a senior in high school. So this is not how I planned on it being, and but nobody planned on it being like this.
No.
But so, I know people are salivating here. We've got people starting to write in questions. So these 40 articles, about things that they can be doing and the help that they're looking for, where are we
Everything.
finding them, Lisa?
Yeah.
Where
TACAnow.org, TACANOW.org. If you go to the family parent resources, if you land on each of the pages, so we have 6 pages of support, it will highlight the new articles for you. So if you're just interested in the new ones, land on the education page, the medical page, or whatever page you're interested in, and it will highlight the most newest articles. If you need COVID support, anything to do with COVID, that's right off the front page. It's a big graphic that says COVID. That will help guide you into all the COVID tools. So, have at it. Our team is the best. We have the best team. And they're doing a tremendous job getting information told so families have support right now today.
There you go. Do you have a fan going? Is that maybe what's making the audio go in and out?
I turn off that fan. I
All right, then we're gonna tough it out. We can hear you. We can hear you. I just think it might be because we have good sound and then it dips down, and I'm just trying to figure out what. It's okay.
So volume, but as soon as I close my office door, it goes up 20 degrees.
I understand completely.
We're
and
cheap rent.
We want you alive, and so we're just going to deal with the dipping audio. Because we're trained in this. We have expectations, and then we pivot, right? That's what being autism parents is all about. So there we go. Okay, so I think that one of the most exciting things in the world is when somebody can get to one of your conferences.
Oh.
And it's not easy, and not everybody can. And I keep saying from the beginning of time, we have to look for all of the blessings we can find in COVID, because this is a period of time in which different rules apply and people are doing things differently, and this too shall pass, and we need to take advantage of everything we can during this COVID. Now, normally you would be having a conference in the fall that people would be trying to get to, and you have conferences in the spring and in the fall, and the fall is the one that's usually on the West Coast, correct? Am I in the right?
You're
So, and that usually happens in October. And a lot of times I hear parents are like, I would just do almost anything to be able to be there, but I can't because I'm not available that week, or I don't have anybody to be with my kid. I don't have the money to fly, blah, 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 blah. There's a million excuses, right? But this year it's going to be different. And you have some pretty exciting news for us because this year, I think everybody can come.
We're really excited. So COVID, I curse you, but COVID has brought out the most ingenious behaviors in this team. And we're taking the conference to families, and it's going virtual, and it's everything you want in a virtual conference. So we looked at other virtual conferences outside the autism community to see what we liked and didn't like. And what we decided was to do a hybrid. So it literally takes what we think will be better for families. So some conferences allow you to attend for specific days. And we don't want to do that because, when you're at home and the kids see you, regardless if you're holed up in your bedroom or an office or the garage or in your car. I've had a family watch videos in her car with the door locked and what have you. Your kids still know you're there. They know you're there, and they have to eat 3 times a day. They have issues, and therapists may be coming over still. God, hoping that's the case. So you get interrupted a bazillion times. So what we've done is we created the conference with all the content that families normally want, from the legal side, the medical side, the learning side, beginner side, adult side, college side, all of that. You can watch all of the lectures, all of the content we bring to you that would be physically at a conference. This is our 34th conference. is going to be all online, and you have 31 days. So we picked October has 31 days. So we didn't rip you off, not 28, not 30, but 31 days that you can watch all of the sessions. So you can start and stop a session 15 times and it doesn't matter. You can go back to it, watch it 3 times. You'll be able to get all the content that we normally do. Then we struggled, Shannon, we love our community. I mean, most of the conferences, you walk in, you get a hug, you know, and you go to the mentor table and you ask your questions and you plan your day. We're doing all of the support, the community, in a private Facebook group. So when you register, you get added to that group. We're going to do our Q&A there. So we'll tell you in the next day or two, this person for this topic, their Q&A is going to be live in Facebook. We're going to do special exclusive content in that Facebook group. But then more importantly, you could go up there and say, hey, I got a senior in high school. I want to get my kid in college. These are my issues. What do I do? And we can have someone jump on that, answer those questions, guide you, and get you into the next step. Other parents could chime in and say, this is what we did. This is how we function. This is how we solve that problem. And then if there's a doctor in the group and there's a physician question, we will tag them in that group and ask them to answer and participate in the questions. So
proud of you. Like this is amazing. Like, I'm so proud of you that you're doing this. This is like if I could do anything, this would have been my dream. And I'm so glad that you're doing it so I don't have to. Can I just say, no, I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, thank you. Because I think this is what the families need. And, you know, I know that you've got a special going on tomorrow.
Right.
Talk to us about that, because there is a cost for the conference, because this is not, even doing it this way, there's an expense to it and you've got to cover your expenses. So there is a cost to it, but there's a deal tomorrow that's off the chain.
Yeah, you know, usually our conference, as you get closer, it can be about $100 to register for 3 days. Tomorrow we're opening registration first day at $25. So
and what does that cover? That $25?
Everything we talked about. So you have access to the community, the support, the lectures, PowerPoints, everything. And really that just helps us cover the cost of getting this information out to families.
$25 for 31 days filled with stuff that you can start and stop, and you can be asking questions and be meeting with other parents and hearing experts talk. And you can take as much of it on as you want. You could do all 31 days, or you could show up for 1 day.
Right.
Most conferences, if you went for 1 hour, would be over $100. So for $25 for a full month, it is like craziness. But that's just if you pre-register tomorrow. Then the price will go up a little bit.
Yeah, it goes up to $49 the next day. And that's generally where we start registration. Is the lowest price is $49. Oh, and I forgot to mention, we have a virtual exhibit hall. So if there are vendors that you're interested in, or a speech pathologist or an attorney or what have you, we'll have a virtual exhibit hall where you have access to their information and access to how to contact them. So there's the 3 components. Sorry, I forgot one.
No, I mean, I love that. I got to say, I want to talk to you about that for Autism Live, because I've always wanted to have an Autism Live booth. I just can't. If I come to your conference, I want to be at your conference, and I don't want to be at the booth, and I don't have enough staff to do both of that. So I've never done it, because I just can't be 2 places at one time. And personally, I enjoy the conference so much that I don't want to be there talking about Autism Live. But if you're doing it virtually, I might be able to do that. That's very exciting.
Consider yourself invited, and we'll figure out what the heck you want to do.
Right.
And it's done.
All right. Fabulous. And this is one of the things I love about you. You have more energy than any 12 people I know. We call you the Energizer Bunny behind your back, in the nicest possible way.
3 cups of coffee today.
There we go. So this is incredible, but where do people go tomorrow to get the $25 deal?
Just go to TACA now, TACANOW.org, and click on conference, and registration will be right there.
Okay.
We're also going to be opening up scholarships to families. I found one partner, hoping to get one more, where we can scholarship families. So we'll be announcing that too.
Here's what I want to commit to right now. I'd like to pay for 4 people. So I wish I was made of money so I could do more, but that's the very least that I can do. I would like to scholarship 4 people to go.
I love
So,
you. Do you know how much I love you? I just
well,
love you.
I wish I could be more generous than that. I want to remind you and everybody else that TACA was, see, I'm gonna cry. TACA was very generous to me on a Christmas when I needed it more than anything else. So that's the very least that we could do is scholarship for 4 people. Stop. Now you got me emotional.
Stop. And I just stop it. I think you together, we're bonded for the rest of our lives, girl. That's how it
Well, that's
rolls.
what I said. I mean, like, this is how crazy the autism community is that I remember being a young, well, I was never young as a parent. I had my child at 40, almost 41. But as a new parent and a new parent in the autism community, and I was lost, right? Like everybody starts on day one. I was lost and looking for answers. And everybody was like, oh, there's this group, this TACA group. And I, I remember hearing about this woman who founded it and who was just this amazing person who knew everything. And, that's why I said I feel so privileged that now, all these years later, that I get to call you friend. Stop. It's just too good. And that can happen for, everybody that, one of the things that I love about going to a TACA conference is that you walk in and there's nothing but hugs for you. You found your tribe. You have arrived, you are there, and everybody understands that everybody's story is different, but you are welcome no matter what your story is. You have that in common. And when you go to a conference that's not a TACA conference, it's a different conference, but TACA is there, you see the herd of people come in the TACA t-shirts, and you know exactly who they're the people having the most fun. It's amazing. And it's not all women. I love that you have dads galore more than any other group. You have dads, young and old, and everything in between that are there. You guys rock it. I need my tissues. But I do love
you. You're our walking infomercial. Not that we need, I mean, every other time period we do stuff for free. The conference, it takes such a tremendous effort. There's just no way to do that for free unless Daddy Warbucks who wants to pop off a check for us. We do things to get as much out as we can to families and support them, but it's the one thing that has a fee.
There you go. But $25, you guys, and I know that it's short notice and sometimes your budget is such, but if you really and let's just be honest, because there was a time and TACA was there for me that Christmas where $25 was more than I had. There have been way more times in my life than I'd like to admit where $25 was the difference of whether we ate or not. And so if that is the case for you, please do not be embarrassed or ashamed by that. Been there, done that. I hope better days are coming for you, but ask about a scholarship. We know that they're at least.
We have a toll-free number. If folks want to call in, it's 855-726-7810. Do you
want to give that number again?
Yeah, 855-726-7810. We answer the phones 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. And so if you want to call and ask for a scholarship, or you want to email us, info@tacanow.org, we could forward your information along to apply for a scholarship. So there should be no hurdle to this. If you put your kids to sleep, you could easily get 4 sessions in a night. Easily. Yeah. And then sneak in on the Facebook group when your kid's having a break or watching TV or doing something that you could go in and then ask questions.
And you probably don't know who all your speakers and all your people are right now. And even if you did, you probably wouldn't want to, tell them this early. But let me just tell you, folks, there's something for everyone. So many of you write in and say, I don't know what to do about biomedical, or my child, I have questions about this sort of behavior that my child is doing, that they're spitting or whatever. Like, she is somebody always for everything. You are going to get more information from more doctors. I know they ask me all the time, Lisa, here, about med maps and med map doctors and what they can do for our kids. Last night, we had a question about, what would be the point of seeing a neurologist? Is there any benefit to seeing a neurologist if I have a child on the autism spectrum? And, my thing is, go to a conference, a TACA conference, and not only will you get the questions that you have answered, but there will be so much information that you will leave going, okay, I didn't even know about this, that, and the other. And that's really, your battery will be recharged. You're going to hear stories of hope. You're going to see progress, but you're also going to be surrounded by other parents who are going through it that reminds you you're not alone.
Right.
Right. So I just always love the variety of the people that you have speaking at your conferences.
Well, thank you. And one of the things we're going to pay particular attention to this year is, what about COVID and IEPs? What do we do about compensatory services? How do we navigate homeschooling, distance learning, and virtual hell? Sorry.
Yeah.
Some kids,
I'm with you on this.
They love the box. They look at the box and they're like, I'm fascinated. And other kids are like, well, you can't stop me. Boom.
Exactly. And I got to tell you that October is going to be a real turning point, that, by that point, we're going to know where we're going to be in January, and we're going to be in the middle of things. And it's going to be a good time to get that, because right now, I have a meeting this afternoon with my son's school to talk about the distance learning plan. And I know that 9/10 of what they're going to say is, we don't know yet. We don't know yet. We don't know yet. Because they don't. And I can't ask them to look into a crystal ball and tell me. But by October 1st, you're going to have an idea whether your school has it handled or not. And you're going to need some help and information about when the answer is they don't have it.
Right.
And you're going to see how much you are responsible for and how much help you need. So it's really a good time, Lisa. And I can't believe that it's for the whole month. Yeah. You're a crazy person.
I am. I've been accused of that many times. Yes.
But it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And it makes me emotional. And I'm grateful that you're going to be doing that.
It's a team. This team is the best team. And it's all the creative brains of a lot of people who just nothing but care about families and their kids. And we get together and we say that idea can be better. So we always work and challenge each other. And our number one goal is making sure families feel the support and get the help they need. And so, we have occupational therapists coming on, speech therapists, the legal team is going to be a big presence. We'll have adults with autism speaking. And then the slew of medical professionals that are world renowned, like Dr. Kriegsman, who saved my kid, gastroenterologist, who is just one of the best in the world, will be there talking about my favorite topic, poop.
Right.
If an hour goes by and I haven't said the word poop, it's just not normal for me.
Love it.
We just got confirmation, I don't know, for the folks that love the Real Housewives, we have Jacqueline Larita coming on, and she's just a sweetheart. And she'll be talking about her kid, Nicholas, and what's going on. So, there's something for everybody.
There is. And the community, if nothing else, to be a part of that Facebook group. Now, will the Facebook group only be for the month of October, or is it going to start before?
We'll start it up and invite people as they register. I think it will be for the month of October, but we'll open it up a little early to get people going and understanding where everything is and what to do. That will be kind of your tour guide for the material, the conference, and answering questions. When October 31st and everyone's putting on their Halloween gear and, getting ready, we will offer to transition you to our Hope and Health group, which has right now over 11,000 people in it, getting support every day. So support won't stop. It will keep going. If you want to keep playing, we will roll you in and make sure you have support. So that $25 really is buying you a support package that carries on.
That's pretty incredible. $25. But again, it's only $25 tomorrow, which is Wednesday, July 29th, if you're watching this recorded. Wednesday, July 29th is the day to get the $25 price. Otherwise, it's going to cost you $49. So save yourself some money, get that booked in for October. I don't know where you think we're wearing our Halloween costumes to, but here, at least here in Los Angeles, Halloween's already been canceled.
You don't wear your costume around the house?
No. But maybe now, having said that, maybe we need to have a virtual Halloween party so that everybody can wear their costume and we can maybe that's what we need to do. I'll get right on that.
Yeah, I have a butterfly costume. It's the wings and the antlers and a tutu. That goes over everything, and every year I'm the butterfly again.
Well, I don't know if you know, Nancy Allspaw Jackson and I, Halloween is an event for us. We always dress up and it's always this big reveal and whatever. I hadn't even given two thoughts to that this year.
Well, my favorite was Lucy and Ethel.
Yeah, I think that was
good.
Well, her Lucy was incredible. My Ethel looked like a fat Martha Washington, but other than that, Mrs. Lincoln. Like the wig was all wrong, the dress was all wrong. Yeah. I'm trying to think which one. My favorite was when we dressed as the two queens. I was Queen Elizabeth now, and she was the previous Queen Elizabeth. And it's good to be the queen. Yeah. That's all I have to say. It's good to be the queen. Yes, exactly. And yes, so there we have it. All right, we are like out of time, but I don't want to leave without saying that TACA is a wealth of information every day of the week, every day of the year. And if people go to TACANOW, it's TACAnow.org. I think it's the best website for autism, and especially for autism parents, that there is. So there's more information there. It's, you could spend, I did a talk the other day for a group of parents, and I said, I could send you to two websites and you could spend, the next 6 months and dive in. And I said TACA, especially for parents, but I also think if you have teens or you yourself are on the spectrum, I do recommend wrongplanet.net. But between those two websites, I think you have it covered. So that's saying a lot coming from me. Okay, somebody wrote in something and said, no anti-vax groups for me. I don't think that TACA would even remotely be considered an anti-vax group. Am I wrong?
Well, we have families that have their own beliefs, and we let every family have their own beliefs. There's not one set or beliefs that we tell you to fall into. So whether you believe vaccines play a role or don't, we still support you and put you on the right path. So we need to make the kids the front and center of getting the help they need and getting the support they need. And I just, we need to move on. That's just not, you don't have to have a coupon one way or the other of who you are to come in and play.
Yeah. And there's so, there's so much to TACA that is absolutely amazing about having your child be healthy. And I think to label anything is a gross misunderstanding of what happens. So yeah. I would bet you that everybody would find something that they would absolutely enjoy and learn from at TACA. So I've said that. Okay. Okay. Just reading some of the things, but that's all perfect and wonderful. And thrilled that you were here to chat with us, and you're going to be joining us a little bit later on tonight. Some of you know that I do a group at night on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays that are just card parents, and I apologize that you guys don't get to be a part of that conversation too, but Lisa's going to be joining us there for those of you who are card parents, not to be missed. Yeah. So Lisa, thank you so much for being here. It is 11 o'clock straight up. I adore you. Can't wait to talk to you later on.
I appreciate you, and thank you for having me on. And I appreciate that we're focused just on helping families have the best possible outcome. That's our agenda.
That is the agenda always. Love it. Love you.
Love you too.
I'm not even good at making the heart thing. I have a tissue because I cried. All right. See you later. We're out of
Bye.
time, you guys, so I'm going to go too. Don't forget that tomorrow we have Dr. Doreen Grampiche answering your questions on the show, and on Thursday we have Dr. Evelyn Gould. She was a regular way at the beginning of Autism Live. She's back to talk about acceptance commitment therapy. That's not to be missed. She's a favorite, right? A fan favorite, one of my favorites. So can't wait for her to be joining us back where it all began. All right, until tomorrow, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.